Hello, I was testing something. Welcome. So, Google is making a change and people are freaking out. Just like always. That's how it goes, right? But you don't have to worry. Just make sure your content does a few things right and you'll be all set. So, let's talk tech about SEO and Google. Alrighty, so here we go again. It's the semi-annual freaking out over Google making changes. I don't always talk about these here because most of the time, people aren't going to notice. But in this case, I think it's important enough. It's a big enough change and a good change. So I thought that we would talk about it. And what the impacts are, what you need to do, all that kind of stuff. The good news is if you've been doing things the right way all along, right? If you've been making the right choices all along, you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. Everything is covered. But maybe there's some things that you can do to even enhance your positioning. If you are someone who kind of runs around following all of the theory of the month about how to beat or game the algorithm, you might need to scale some things back because it's probably going to work not so well for you. So let's go ahead and get this started, shall we? I see I should have changed that too when I had the countdown timer up. Hang on, I'm going to bring my presentation up. All my different windows, all my different stuff. It's a good thing to have all this stuff, right? No, this is not a good time to update my application. Thank you very much. So Facebook and Canva are trying to do that to me. We're not doing that now. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and chat, shall we? Hello, Jason. Marcus, hello. Sammy, good to see you. Appreciate all of you showing up. Tyler had you all beat by a mile. He was here early today. All right, so let's go ahead and let's have a little chat about this, shall we? I'm going to cut that over. There we go. And we'll take that down. All right, so the big question of the day is, what does Google see as helpful content? Now, the reason we're using that phrase is because that's sort of the unofficial term for the changes that are happening. And these changes are happening. Here we go. I thought I had my voice back, but I guess I don't. These changes are happening right now when I'm recording this. So this is August 2022 when I'm recording this. And this is how everybody is referring to these updates, including Google themselves. They're calling it the helpful content update. So what the heck are we talking about, right? What could this possibly be? So the helpful content update is really impacting how and if you're going to change. And the reason that it's being called this is because what Google is doing is they are focusing on people who are providing content that they are evaluating as being helpful. And we're going to talk about what that means in a minute. But generally, their intention here, and I know the theorists out there will have other opinions, but the spoken reason for doing this is because their business is to give us the best results possible for our search. And so as a part of this, they're going to start to go through and they're going to bubble up the content that they feel meets that criteria and push down the content that doesn't. People will have opinions about this, but that is the goal that they are stating behind these changes. And if they achieve that, I think that will be a good thing for all of us. Your mileage may vary. Let's keep going. Okay, so that's what's happening is they're changing how they rank your content again. And this happens on a fairly regular basis. So on a fairly regular basis, Google goes in and they tweak the algorithm. Why? Many reasons. They're trying to improve the search results so things are a better match. But they're also trying to weed out people who are trying to game the system or who are maybe got themselves up in the rankings and then changed their content so it's not so helpful anymore. And so they're trying to manage that type of thing. And sometimes it's just, Google being Google and trying to do things for better ads and that type of thing too. So there's a lot of reasons why they keep doing this. And really the algorithm is sort of an endless whack-a-mole game. It's a lot like security. Like they'll make a change and then people will adjust and then they'll make a change and people will adjust. So as far as if you're just searching on Google, it's really just about the results that you get back and your options on that search results page. For those of us who do content, it's a little bit more of a complex situation. And so this is really going to impact how and if we show up in the search results. I look forward to your comments. So why is this a big deal? Why do people lose their minds every time Google does something like this? And why in particular is this one freaking people out? Well, we've got a few things going on here. The first reason that it's a big deal is because some content is going to see a major drop in traffic. So like websites, key web pages are possibly going to see a drop, just general content, because you can bet that this is going to flow into things like this, YouTube and all that. It's going to be widespread, and some people are going to end up with a very dramatic drop. The flip side of that is always, if you're losing traffic, it could be that your competitors are gaining your lost traffic, right? So as an example, this can happen anyway, depending on your content, depending on your website. So if people are frustrated with or don't even find your content, they're going to leave and go someplace else that provides the information, the products, the services that they need, right? They're not going to sit there and struggle through. If it's not a simple direct line for them, you've lost. So this type of thing, this type of change in the search algorithm is definitely something that will have that kind of an impact. One of the benefits could be, if you do end up on the right side of the scale, is that you could end up being highlighted as what they're calling featured snippets. So basically what that means is just, they're going to prominently display your result if it, in their calculations, your content is a really, really, really good match for the search term that somebody put in. And so that means that, you're going to be, near the top of the page. You might even actually be highlighted, which is all good stuff because it's more eyeballs on your stuff. Let's see here. We're getting some of the comments on. Oh, wait, you know what? Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to turn on the comments for Facebook. Give me one, for Facebook, right? Yes, Facebook is the one I forgot. Hang on. Let me bring it up. I had a really busy day yesterday and it's flowed into today. Sorry. Okay, so Marcus wants to know, does Google usually reveal what they're doing in ranking? Sort of. So obviously they're not going to give us the details about the algorithm because that makes it too easy for people to game it. But they do give guidelines. And by the way, I did not pay Marcus for this, but this is a lovely segue. Thank you. I do have the links in the description to different articles that will help you dig deeper if you want to on this. So they do provide best practices. They do make recommendations. They do even give you examples of good and bad things to do. So that's why I'm saying sort of, because yes, they're not going to tell us all the inside secrets, but they do give us guidance because they want us to succeed. They want people to run searches and get what they want, right? Because that feeds the engine. So that's always good. And this is absolutely true. If you don't show up in Google, you don't exist. Yeah, so this is, many thousand years ago, people thought AOL was the internet. And now we're at the point where people think, Google's the internet. And in that case, it's more real because the Google search engine powers a lot. So yeah, if you don't show up there, it's not so good. So yes, Jason, this is exactly where there is the opportunity for some of us, smaller fish in the pond to possibly benefit from this, right? Because we tend to not be generic, right? We tend to have opinions. We tend to present our content in a different way. And so as a small content creator, this type of an approach to the algorithm could definitely boost our visibility because our stuff may be ranked higher than somebody who is an influencer or a larger content creator or a company. There's a lot of different levels there. So yeah, this could end up being a little bit of a leveling of the playing field. We know the playing field will probably never be completely level, but it does balance things out a little bit more, which is why I don't agree with the people who are out there who are spreading the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I don't think that this is anything to get upset about unless you're one of those people who've been playing games, in which case, yeah, you're going to have to change your approach to life. And you know what? That's not necessarily the end of the universe either. So, that's my opinion. Your mileage may vary. I freely admit that. But that is what we are talking about. So now, right, the next question, the next question is, right, what is Google going to see as helpful, right? What is it that they're looking for? But before we go there, because I keep forgetting to do this part, hello, if you're new here, my name is Kathleen. I'm here as your tech coach. Basically, the short version of the story is tech is my day gig. It's also my hobby, so I live in this world. So when people have questions, friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, they tend to come to me. I know not everybody has somebody like that, so I do this show for you. You are always, always, always welcome to reach out if you have a topic you want me to cover, if you have a question, or just come and hang out in the chat and ask your question there. I'm going to lose my voice before this is over. I can see that coming. Hang on. All right, we're going to try to get through this. The 6 hours of meeting that I had today was not helpful. But you know what? That's okay. That's all part of the fun. You know this is live, because otherwise it would have been edited. All right, so what will Google see as helpful? Oh yeah, this is going to be lovely to listen to. My apologies. So Google has provided and always has provided recommendations. But for this particular round, they've gotten a little bit more specific about what it is that they will be looking for. I'm going to lose my voice. Yeah, fun. Love losing my voice, especially while I'm talking. Okay, so they are definitely going to be giving us information, and they already are, right? So they're looking for content that is created for a specific audience, right? So that they're trying to help target to specific audiences. They want to see content that exhibits a level of expertise. They want to see that, you're somebody that people rely on for information and turn to. This is a big one. They want to see information that is trustworthy and credible. Now, again, I know there are people that have very strong opinions about this out there, but my strong opinion is that we need more trustworthy and credible information out there because the nonsense is taking over. And they're looking for information that is addressing the needs, the wants, and the goals of the visitor to that particular piece of content. So that's at a really broad, high level, but it does start to give you a feel for what they're looking for, right? They are very specifically measuring the content and how people are reacting to it, right? And they're looking at your content and who else is referring it, who else you refer to. So they're looking for all those relationship points, because that's one of the ways that people help to vet businesses, individuals, services, right? Is by feedback, by testimonials, by reviews, and also by who they recommend and who recommends them back, that type of thing. All of these are parts of the puzzle. Any single one of these is not the key to success, but the right combination of everything is the thing that's going to make the difference. So let's talk a little bit about what those things mean. Now, there's a lot of information out there. Like I said, the links are in the description, so you can, if you want to dig down, you really can. And I will say, I went through it, I read all of this several times. It's well written. Like, it's not written in your typical SEO. By the way, SEO is search engine optimization, in case anybody's not familiar with that term. A lot of times when you read SEO kind of stuff, which is exactly what this is, it gets very buzzwordy, right? It gets very, I love the sound of my own voice. The links that I have provided are the ones that don't. The links I provided give you plain English explanations of what to do and what not to do and what to keep an eye out for, all that kind of good stuff. So you do want to be selective about where you're going to read this stuff, and these are all coming from the mothership. So you know you're getting the goods from them. All right. So when we say that something is created for a specific audience, what that means is, are you writing to a particular person? So you may hear people talk about, who is your avatar? So basically that is like the ideal customer, the ideal content reader, the ideal visitor to your content that you have in mind. It's like anything else in life, right? If you're trying to make everybody happy, you're not going to make anybody happy. But if you focus in on your people, your audience, and you're talking to them about the things that are important to them in a way that they understand it, then you're hitting the mark on this one. You are hitting your specific audience. And that is something that they're looking for. Tied to that, like, so if your content has a particular or primary focus, that's also very important. That doesn't mean that you can never go off topic. That you could totally do that. As long as the majority of your stuff stays true to the topic you're on, again, you're feeding that specific audience vibe that they're looking for. There's a lot of other things. Let's see, I wrote like a various list here. They're going to evaluate this criteria from a user's perspective. So what they're doing is, if somebody types in a search term that leads to your content, how is that user going to respond to the content that they're looking at? Are they going to be pleased? Is it going to feel like they've got the information or product or service that they were looking for? So if you stay very much in the mindset of who you're talking to, if you stay very much in the mindset of who you're trying to serve, you're in a good place and you don't have to worry too much about what's happening, because this may automatically just help you. When we talk about the features expertise, this is something that kind of trips people up sometimes, because they're like, I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm not Bill Gates. Like, I'm not internationally known for what I do. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who can speak intelligently on the topic. And when I say speak, it doesn't have to be video. It could be, written word, however it is that you're communicating. So this is something that we've talked about before a little bit, this idea of EAT. So it's expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Longer words we didn't really need, but okay. So what they're looking for is the content being provided by somebody who demonstrates that they know this topic well? If you do, then you're good. And there's not a lot of us out there that are talking about things we don't know. Like, you're not going to come here and find me talking about cooking, because I don't cook, I order in. Okay, and you would know that very quickly, because it's very clear that I don't cook. I have no interest in it. I like to eat because I like to stay alive, but other than that, I'm fine, supporting the local businesses. However, when it comes to tech, this is my world. I live in this world. I talk about this world all the time. So yeah, this is not a problem for me. So that's the type of thing that they're looking for. Let me just pick out, for every one of these, I picked a dozen, and a dozen is too many to talk about. Okay, so does your content clearly demonstrate firsthand expertise and a depth of knowledge, right? So it's the difference of somebody who just, goes and watches a video or reads an article and then comes back and just parrots it back to you. That's not helpful. You could have done that yourself. You could have skipped that person and gone right to that source material and be fine. They're looking for people who can, take the information that they're providing, put it in context, explain it in a way that is, unique to them. I mean, words are generic, but they had their own approach to it, and they're talking again to their audience in a way that it works for their audience. That's really, really important. Let's see, is there another one? I guess those are probably the big ones here. The other thing, so those are kind of the positive ones for the features expertise. The flip side of it is they don't want to see something that's mass produced, right? They don't want to see something that is being presented as yours, but exists in a very similar fashion to other people. What am I talking about? There are services out there, and I'm not passing judgment, I'm just saying that these things exist. There are services out there that will let you white label their content, right? So you pay a certain amount every month, and they give you X number of articles or videos or whatever that you can put your brand on. The thing is, even if you make some tweaks to that, or you add a little something or take a little something away from it, the majority of it is still exactly the same content as somebody else did, and somebody else did, and somebody else did. That's the kind of stuff that an algorithm is going to be able to pick up on. That's something that the AI is going to be able to say, there's too much similarity. It's sort of like back in school, like the teacher could tell if you were copying right out of the encyclopedia. It's that kind of level thing. Technically, I'm not talking about plagiarism. That's a different issue. In these scenarios, you have the right to use this material. It's just that you've not done anything with that material other than post it, right? You paid for it, you got it, you post it along with 100,000 other people. That's what they're trying to downgrade, and they're trying to focus more on the people who are creating stuff that is unique, targeted, custom, coming from a point of knowledge and expertise. Hopefully that makes sense. When we talk about trustworthy and credible, there are some really obvious things that you shouldn't be doing, right? The clickbait headlines. You don't want to be doing that. And that will work against you, right? If you're exaggerating something to a ridiculous degree, mainly to be shocking, right? Or to elicit fear, that type of thing, that's going to work against you. But obviously, you do need to tap into keywords. You do need to think about how people are searching for information on what it is that you are providing and tie your stuff to that. That's totally fine. It's just the borderline to completely sleazy things that don't really work. Those are the kinds of things that you just don't want to have to deal with because it's just going to cause problems. And the last thing that we need at this point is more problems. So that's one of the things that they're going to be looking for. As far as the trustworthy and credible thing, it's, again, they're going to look at it from the viewpoint of your user or your visitor. So they're going to look and see, is this something that a person, after landing on this, would definitely go and recommend, right? Would they share that with somebody? Would they, pop it in an email? Would they hit the share button on it because they think that this is a good example? This is answering a question. This is something that they know somebody else was looking for. That's going to rate you much higher on that trustworthy and credible scale than if you're going to go and do something, sleazy. They're going to look to see, does the content have any easily verifiable factual errors, right? So they're not going to penalize you if you make a mistake. They're not going to penalize you for having an opinion. They will penalize you if you say that, the sky is, that's not a good one. How about, they will penalize you for saying that water is dry, right? Or they're going to penalize you for saying, that my stylus is an elephant, okay? If it's a blatant factual error, okay, a lie, an error, then you're going to get pinged. If it's just something that's, hard to verify, or if it's something that, maybe there's some gray area on, you're fine. You don't have to worry about that. You don't get, again, the people will be hysterical about this, but they really don't have to be, as long as you are being authentic, right? Truthful. That's really the key thing. It's going to look to see if you're providing, any, original information tied to what's being there. If there's any analysis being added to it, that's going to help you. The more you start to think about it, the more it makes sense, right? If your content is rife with spelling errors, right? That's probably not going to rate as well, but that's only one element, right? So let's just say you're a bad speller, but you rank really high on everything else, then that will balance out. But if there's anything that implies, if like the grammar is not quite right for the language you're being presented in, that could be an issue. That's not to say that if you are writing in something other than your first language, it's going to be thrown away, because that's not true. There, and this, it's one of those, it's like, when you see it, you will get a vibe, right? If you're reading something and you're like, every third word in this is completely wrong, right? Or there are parts of this thing that are completely off topic, like somebody else had inserted them in there. Those are the kind of warning signs that they're going to be looking out for. So exactly, Jason. So yes, if we're talking about, there's a difference between, come on, let's put this up here, right? So if the content is fluff and mass produced, it's going to be negative. Absolutely. Fluff in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but fluff matched with the mass produced, replicated by other places exactly the same way, that is definitely going to work against you for sure. If you are just throwing, stuff out there because it's the thing that everybody is, having a fit about at the moment, and that's not your normal content, that's going to be a problem too, because that again is not going to measure on that trust and credibility. When it comes to meeting the needs and wants of the searcher, that again, from the standpoint of somebody who's coming to your content. So one of the things is, if, after consuming your content, is this something that somebody's going to leave feeling like they've accomplished their goal, they've learned what they needed to learn, they found what they were looking for? If that's true, even if they go other places afterwards, you're still going to rank higher, because now you are coming up, right? You're providing content that's meeting the search term. the person is going, they're looking at it, and if they're coming away feeling like it met their need, then you're on the right side of the scale for this kind of stuff. If they feel like satisfied with it, if they feel like they're going to have to go and get better information because you're not addressing anything, right? You're just being on the surface. You're not getting in any details, or they're coming away more confused than when they came in. Those are things that aren't going to work well. Now, understand, and I don't think people may not know this, but this is not all algorithm based, okay? Because Google does research. They do surveys. They bring people in and they have them visit sites and they give them feedback. People can also complain to Google about a site that they're having a problem with, or that they think is a problem, and that kind of thing. So it's happening on multiple levels. Yes, Google can see, if somebody hits the share button and shares content, that definitely, they can see. They can also see where a visit comes in. So like if I email something to a friend of mine, my friend clicks on that link and goes to the site, Google can see that it came from an email and went through. They don't know that it was me sending it to my friend. They don't get to that level, but they do track the path of the activity, which also informs all these decisions that they're making. So when you hear people, it's the algorithm is a big part of it, absolutely. But there are other things that are feeding into these ratings that are happening in the background. Other things, as far as meeting the needs and wants, are things like, does whatever they're consuming work well on mobile devices? Does it work well on different size monitors? Does it work well at different resolutions? Does it work for people with accessibility issues, right? So, is your text impossible to read because there's no contrast? Are you not presenting your information in a way that somebody at the grade level who's visiting would be able to consume it and understand it? It's all that kind of good stuff. It's magic sauce. It is. All these little pieces, really, these are all the pieces of treating your visitors and your audience like humans, that if you've been doing it all along, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is not something to get hysterical about. Just do more of it, right? This is always should have been the way you went about it. And maybe you got some bad information. That happens. But the magic sauce is do things for humans. And then also, you're going to tap into SEO. You're going to want to make sure that you're getting your keywords in, all that kind of stuff. But if your focus is on serving your audience and doing the very best you can to help them with whatever it is that you're providing to them, whether that's information, whether that's product, if that's services, whatever, education, any of those things, if you focus on meeting the needs of that specific person you're trying to help, you're always going to do better in the long run. There are going to be peaks and valleys. Things are going to adjust and change over time, absolutely. But this is what works across the board. This is what makes a site, content, video, anything really successful. That's where it comes from. And it's one step at a time. So just as an aside, one of the other things that will work against your credibility that I should have mentioned before is if you buy followers. Buying followers is a very bad idea. It's a bad idea for you because it's a waste of money. It's a bad idea for you because it's going to leave you with a bunch of followers that aren't real people. They're fake sites, they're bots. But it also is going to leave you with a list of followers who don't engage with your content. They don't come and check you out, which is not going to work well in any algorithm, because if you've got a bunch of followers that you've paid for and nobody's coming to check out your content, that's telling any algorithm your stuff is not good. And that may not be the case. You just made a bad decision in paying for stuff. So don't do that, please. Please don't do that. Oops. Jason, come on. There we go. I've heard there is multiple algorithms all working together at Google. A bouquet of algorithms working for yours. Yes, none of these things are being controlled by one thing, and that's what I was referring to before, because it's not even just the algorithm or algorithms, depending on. It's programming code, so it's different database. I'll spare you all of that. That's my happy place, is all that kind of complicated logic stuff. But yes, it's not one piece, and that's really the core of what I'm trying to get to here. Thank you. Not doing one of these things right is not going to be the key to success. You need to get as much of a balance of all these good things and not so much the bad things. So that's why I'm saying, like, when they talk about things like spelling errors, grammatical errors, that kind of thing, it's not that one, it's not that bad spelling or bad grammar in and of itself will tank you. It's that combined with the spammy headlines, buying, followers, all these other things that are going to bring you down. Okay. If you have the occasional spelling error, or you're just not a good speller, if you're not so good with the grammar, that if you have awesome content that your audience loves and that you're providing a lot of value to, it's going to be fine. You're going to be okay then. It's all that little bit of a balance. Exactly. Friends don't let friends purchase artificial views or followers. Yes. Or artificial content, right? So I'm just going to jump off here a little bit, because as I was putting this together, I debated, I'm just going to do a little bit about this. I will probably do a whole show about this later. But this, I think, is going to negatively impact possibly these tools that you're seeing out there now, these, AI tools that will write your content for you. I giggled when I first saw these things start to show up, because coming from the IT world, that has always been the marketing lie, right? That's been the fantasy sold, that you don't have to know how to code. With this application, you can create applications and they'll be perfect and wonderful, and you don't have to understand anything about code. That's always been wrong. That will always be wrong. And now it's the same thing now with some of these tools. I'm not saying that some of these tools maybe aren't helpful, or they aren't good. What I am saying is, if you use these tools to generate your content, don't let it end there. Use it for ideas. Use it to get you started. Use it to maybe give you a structure to work off of. Then you, as a human being, go in and rework that for your audience. That combination, I think, is going to be fine. I think the people who just buy these tools for magic content, yeah, that's not going to work so well. I hate to break it to people, but I just don't see that working, especially with these checklists that they're giving us. Okay, why is it? There we go. So you can use a generated text as a starting point. Absolutely. You can use it to generate ideas. You can use it as a starting point. You can use it as, like your jumping off point for what you're doing. All of that is fine. That is not going to be a problem. But just hitting the button, taking what it gives you and throwing it out there, yeah, that's not going to work. I'm sorry. It's just not. That's life. So, yeah. All right. So let me get back on here. I'm just, so the other thing about the meeting, the needs and use is needs and wants of your user or visitor, is that, would anybody complain about what they see here? Like, not complain is because they don't agree with you. Like, those kinds of things are not going to factor in. Disagreements are going to happen. We're human beings. That's what we do. But if they're going to complain because it's spam, because malware is on the site, or hidden in your content, there's a lot of ways that malware can come through, then you can bet people are going to complain, and that's going to have an impact. So you do want to just, I'm sorry, but the Will Wheaton rule goes into effect here, right? Don't be a dick. If you put yourself out there, if you are trying to help people, if you're not doing anything nefarious, then you're going to be okay. All right, so let's get back to my presentation, which is here. So what do you need to do? What do you need to do in order to get yourself to where you want to be? So, as I've repeated, I cannot say this enough. Focus on people first content. That is always going to be your best bet, no matter what the algorithms do, because that's always going to be something that ranks high, right? So if you're providing useful information to people in a way that it works for them, they come away feeling that they've had a satisfying experience. That's content, that's product, that's services, that's education, that's entertainment, that's anything. Anytime a visitor or a user comes to you and they come away satisfied, positive thoughts, even if you've had to deliver bad information, that can still be a satisfying experience. And as long as you have met their expectations, you're going to be okay. Avoid creating content for search engines first. So this is something that you've probably heard, or if you haven't, you will at some point in your life. People talk about, write for the search engine, write for the keywords. Make sure you get X number of keywords. And those are the things that are not going to work well, because yes, SEO is important. Yes, keywords are important. Yes, you want to make sure that you are phrasing things in a way that you're going to come up as a match for the search engine. All true. But if you don't start at the point of this is information that a human being needs and can consume, or product or service. If you're not meeting that human factor, everything else doesn't matter. So if you start with the human factor, you stay focused on the human factor, you keep, as you're going through each step, keep cycling back and making sure that it still works for the human. If it does, then you're going to be okay. So that's really important. Yes, people first. Don't actually write for the search engines. I don't care what people tell you. Writing for the search engines is not the path to success, because it's going to confuse humans and they're going to stay away, and that's not going to help you. So definitely avoid trying to be a computer talking to a computer, be a human talking to a human, and then factor in the stuff that the technology needs in order to find you. Here are other things to avoid. I know I made this small on purpose. I wanted it to be hard, but avoid all the little tricks that people like to tell you. Avoid all of the tricks that people will say, hire me and I'll get you all this wonderful stuff. Okay, so automatically generated content that you have not enhanced, right? Sneaky redirects, anything sneaky, dark, behind the scenes, don't do it. Link schemes, all of the weird stuff that you get, all the stuff that ends up in your mailbox, or people are reaching out to you saying, hey, pay me $5,000 and I'll work magic. This is the kind of crap that they do, to be quite frank, and you don't want any of that. So don't let anybody tell you, oh, pay me and I'll, put a bunch of comments on to raise your visibility. User-generated spam, comment spam, spam in general, all bad things. If you are doing paid links of any type, make sure that you are labeling them as such. It's common sense, but it's not, because it's easy to get swayed and pulled in by these types of things, because everybody, we're humans. We're all looking for the quick fix. We're all looking for the easy path. I want to go to bed tonight and wake up tomorrow multimillionaire. We all share these deep needs and wishes. However, this is not how the world works, and you just got to face up to facts. And you want to make sure that you are doing the work. If you do the work and you stay true to it and you stay on schedule and you just keep moving along, focusing on your people, then you will get what you're looking for. It's not going to happen overnight. It just doesn't, okay? Every overnight success is years and years or decades and decades of hard work. That's the reality of life. So there we go. Thank you, Sammy. That's very kind of you. All right, so let's go back to this. We're almost to the end here. So when is all this going to happen? If you were here at the beginning, I mentioned this, but I want to repeat it again for you folks who stick through to the end. This is happening now. This is August. I must say October. It's August 2022, and it is rolling out now. This is all happening right now, and you will start to see the results of this over the next few weeks. It always takes a couple of weeks for it to actually kick in. It's not overnight. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and see a big change in your numbers one way or the other, but over the next few weeks, couple of months, that is when it will start to happen. The other thing that I know people are going to have questions about, and I kind of feel like it should be a whole show, but I'm not going to, because there's really not a big answer for it, okay? So this is happening now. If you are part of the group of people, right, who get marked not helpful, right? Hopefully everybody in my world, like, you've been doing it the right way. You're focusing on your humans. You're following all that good stuff. Also, check, again, the links in the description. It gets into a lot more detail, gives you a lot more examples. But if you end up on the other side of this and you get marked as not helpful, you do have things you can do. But again, it's not going to be magic. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go in and do an honest evaluation of your content. Look at your titles, look at your descriptions, look at the text you're writing, and be harsh on yourself. Are you using those, clickbait kind of headlines? Are you writing so that the search engine sees you, but as a result, not making sense to the humans? And then fix it. You're going to have to start to fix it, and you're going to have to start to rebuild things so that you start to move back up. This is going to take time. If you get marked not helpful, it is absolutely going to take you time to get back on the good side. But it can happen. It's just going to take work. And so, again, I'm going to warn you, all the people that are going to start to turn out businesses and say, I can fix it overnight for you, are lying to you. Please don't believe them. Don't waste your time or money. Just go in and start cleaning things up, get it fixed as soon as possible. And then, unfortunately, all you can do is wait. There is nobody you can contact at Google. There is nobody in Google support that's going to magically go in and fix it. this is stuff that you're just going to have to go in and grind through over time and take care of. And I know that's not what people necessarily want to hear, but it is the truth, and I'm not going to lie to you about this kind of stuff. So that's how it is. So I'm just going to look real quick. I think I got everybody's comments as we were going through, but let me just double check. Again, I think that this is a good thing overall. I think that this is something that is going to help level the playing field a little bit, like Jason was talking about. And I do think it's going to make things better for all of us, right? Because we all use search engines. We all use the internet for information, or to find products, or find services, find solutions. And so for that, I think this is definitely going to help. All right, everybody. As I mentioned, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you need more information, you can reach out here, youratechcoach.com. There is a contact form there. If you have ideas for the show, please don't hesitate. Let me know. I am more than happy to take those ideas, because that is where all the good shows come from. If you are a content creator, which I'm assuming a lot of us are watching this, I have the free 130 content ideas. Just go to the website. It's yourtechcoach.com/content ideas. It is 130 generic ideas. They're not tech related. But when you need that piece of content and you can't come up with an idea, this will help spark it. I built it for me, and you are welcome to use it too. It's there. We all have those days. Okay. Marcus is agreeing that it is going to be a good thing. I mean, time will tell, of course, but based on what we're hearing, what they're saying, the information they put out there to us, I do think that this is something that is going to help the little folks get seen, especially if, you've been consistently putting out good information and helping your audience. That is going to come back, positively for you. All right. Okay, everybody. I hope you are having a great end of summer. I am here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then if you're welcome to come and join in on the comments. If you're watching on the replay, I do come back and respond to the comments. So go ahead. If you have a question, comment, go ahead and share. And we will see you again next week. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.